How's it going, ladies and gents? My name is Skyfall and welcome to WrestleWorld. Today's video is based on the worst wrestling games in WWE history. Now, this list is based on opinion, not facts, so come at me in the comment section, you keyboard warriors. But seriously, please do subscribe. Now, let's kick off this list with a bang. 10. WWE All-Stars was that wrestling game fans hoped, as well as the creator, would be a huge step up from the current generation of WWE games. Now, this game was just a rip-off from the start, ripping off Street Fighter so many times. It was just terrible, and the fact that your wrestlers were hugely bulked up with barely any decent moves, it was just terrible to play, and I'm surprised it got as popular as it did. 9. WWF In Your House from start to finish was a rip-off of Mortal Kombat. The only reason I played this was because the wrestlers on it, as well as the special moves each wrestler got, and the home arena. But this was also a down point because some of the home arenas didn't make sense, and the beat-em-up style, aka the Mortal Kombat rip-off, just ruined the moves and they used in a match. It was just one big rip-off. 8. Wwe Legends of Wrestlemania, released in 2009, was just a disappointment from start to finish. The momentum system and pin system was all over the place. The button system was simplified down to 4-button controls. The frustrating part was that near on every grapple set off on a chain event. There was good things about the game, really, as you can export all of the wrestlers from yesteryear 2011 to your Legends of Wrestlemania, and going through the WrestleMania storyline was always an up. 7. WWF Royal Rumble. This game came out in the year 2000. At this time, wrestling games were at their just literally on fire. SmackDown made its debut on PlayStation, N64, and WrestleMania were on fire on N64. Don't know why I said N64 twice, but okay. Back to the game. WWF Royal Rumble had such a small roster in the Royal Rumble match, they would end up having to repeat the same wrestlers. The finishers done near on minimal damage, and as you can probably guess, the game was designed as an arcade game, really, and it was just released on Sega. It was just terrible. 6. Wwe Betrayal. The graphics for this game wasn't too bad for the Game Boy Color, but the game storyline was just repetitive, and the moves were just dumbed down to punches and kicks. For me, it's not an exciting game compared to all these others. These had a bit more to offer, but for Game Boy Color, I was expecting a bit more. It was just terrible to play. It's 5. WWF Steel Cage Challenge. Now, this game was just boring and only had to have 5 to 6 moves at your disposal, and that was dependent on the wrestler as well, and you only had a 10-man roster. The wrestlers, and they all just played the same way. It's just that much repetitive. You play it once and that's all you want to do with it. And I know I'm saying all these games are boring, but remember, this is still the worst wrestling games. Now if you want to talk about a wrestling game that has nothing to do with wrestling, talk about WWE Crush Hour, another rip-off that just had nothing to do with wrestling. The only thing they did was their wrestlers' logos on the vehicles as well as the wrestlers driving that. It was just demolition after demolition, so a bit like tanks or whatever you want to call it. It's terrible. I don't advise you to play it. It was a ball ache just to free. WWF European Tour. Oh, now this game, you had a choice between 4 superstars, which is Randy Savage, The Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, and Bret Hart, and you can select your team and you go off against 3 other tag teams for the tag team titles. And obviously this is based in the European audience at the time. It was just, I can't describe it that much, but it's a game I'd say try it out and you'll see how bad it is. Not the best thing to play. 2. Micro League Wrestling, WWF. Now, this game is just image based, and yes, the first ever official game based on the WWE product at the time. But I had so much high expectations for this, just playing it, and it's just literally more of a strategy game, if anything. And don't get me wrong, I do love my strategy games, but not if it's a wrestling game. And some people do cut this game a lot of slack because it was the first ever one, but compared to any of them else, this is the low of the lows. I'm not a huge fan of this, and it was just no point of playing it. It was just too much of a strategy game. WWE Aftershock, the worst ever WWE game released. Now, this is developed by the NK. They didn't really have many games, and there was just terrible graphics. It was all mediocre gameplay. Now, playing this, the character models are just pixelated throughout. It was just like something from a zombies game. for some reason, every wrestler had their really long arms, and they would just disappear in the background when they're doing a ring entrance. They're all basically the same. Only difference being was just their ring gear. Controlling them was just as hard as playing the Great Khali in 2008's SVR. It's just terrible. Aftershock might have been worth owning if you were an NK owner, but it was just terrible, and I don't know why this game ever existed. And that's my list. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a huge thumbs up, and of course comment down below anything to do with the worst wrestling games. What's your worst wrestling game? What would be your top 10 list? Now, of course, leave a comment down below, even if you want to be a keyboard warrior. I'll still get back to you. And of course, subscribe to see more content. Until then, my name is Skyfall. I really do hope you enjoyed this edition of the Wrestling World, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.